Are you here?
I am here.
Yay!
All right, got it.
Okay, so I have been watching you on Twitter for a while.
Okay.
And what do you do?
I do a lot of different things. One thing that I do is promote authors and their books on Twitter, using primarily Twitter, but also use other social media circles. I have like a huge digital footprint online. Even just with Twitter, I have 2 Twitter accounts that have 348,000 followers combined. And so and they get anywhere from the 2 accounts combined get anywhere from like 10 million to like 14 million views a month.
Mm-hmm.
And so I use that to get authors and books more exposure to like a global viewership that they probably wouldn't have on their own. But like to have like almost 350,000 followers that's a lot of eyeballs. And since I've been promoting books using Twitter for probably about 7-8 years now, so I have a reputation, so it's an ongoing thing. It's not something I just started last year. So I have a lot of people that look for new books and new authors, and I also have started, like in the past year, started writing more also.
Writing what? Fiction, nonfiction, or?
Actually, you know what? A little bit of both. Mostly nonfiction. I've actually started with short stories. Like I publish short stories now as a means to kind of like hone my craft of writing, but also hone the craft of actually taking a book idea from the intangible thought to making it a digital product to actually doing the promotion behind it. So not only do I promote other authors, but I'm like my own creative director in terms of the visuals and their approach to promoting my own works.
Okay. So why did you pick Twitter as your medium for promotion?
Well, one of the reasons why is because it's wide open. It's a metropolis. There's a lot of different things going on all the time, but there is a huge literary community there. Mm-hmm. And that huge literary community is extremely diverse. So you have any niche you can think of. There is a large group of people that are interested in and provide content for those niches. So Twitter is a great way to have like to make those connections between readers and writers. And so I like that because it's 24/7. Like I was saying earlier, it's like a metropolis. So you have people around the world up at all hours of the night, and you don't necessarily have like one specific group of people. And I think one of the differences between like promoting a book on the way I promote books on Twitter, as opposed to doing similar things like on LinkedIn and Facebook, is that with those other social media platforms, usually the group of people that you have access to are smaller and more intimate, like like maybe your family and friends, in addition to people that you know in the book industry. Whereas Twitter is like this ever evolving, always changing, huge group of people, and you never know what you're going to get from day in, day in, day out. Okay. So that's why I kind of gravitate towards doing it on Twitter more so than the other social media platforms.
Now, one might say I'm in marketing too, and something I tell my clients is always go narrow and deep rather than wide and shallow.
I agree.
Why would you go wide and shallow and maybe miss getting a real loyal following for each book that's different, that's targeted to the niche? Why would you rather go for all these people who most of them are not interested in most of the books, instead of going for the few people that are going to be interested in this specific book or that specific book?
Actually, that's a great question. To answer it broadly, I actually do both. But to really like kind of narrow down why I would take a broader approach using Twitter specifically is because what I've noticed like over time, like one thing is the way I've built all those followers is that I follow a lot of people. I follow people that are either writers, publishers, or readers of some sort. Okay. And those readers have a very diverse and wide appetite for books. So the person that might read Christian fiction might also read erotica. And so with people having such a diverse, and also like one thing that I like about Twitter and it being and taking taking a wide approach to marketing is that a lot of times you can get a lot of impulse buys, or you can get you can expose people to new genres that they probably wouldn't have even thought of, interacting with had they not seen you for the past couple of years talking about it.
Yeah.
And so, that I've been able to take advantage of like an international and I would say cosmopolitan following that actually have like a real diverse taste for different books.
Okay.
So like so there's some people that really like urban fiction, but they also like romance, and I'm starting to find like a lot of people like a young adult and what's it called, urban fantasy. And so so that's why I do that. But then I also do like really narrow down like when just to try to explain it in a nutshell. Like when you do a Twitter campaign with me, and I'm promoting your book. So when I'm promoting it on Twitter, it's a large group of people that are seeing your book. And like you pointed out, I'm pretty sure a vast majority of them probably are not interested in your particular book. But when they see your book in the mix with a bunch of other books that they are interested in, sometimes they'll just, impulse buy or, just take a look at it just to see something different. But I'll do the same thing with on Facebook. Like I'll put a post on Facebook, and that crowd is like a more I would say a more narrow group of people in terms of what their tastes are, and also what their interaction level with me is on a day-to-day basis. So that, and also Instagram is starting to really grow as a real. I'm starting to get like a real personal interaction / following there also. So I do see what you're saying. Like, why would you take the throw the spaghetti at the wall approach and see what sticks? But over the years, a lot of stuff is stuck. There's a Twitter campaign I did for an author named KJ Waters. It's a short story that she put out. It's entitled Blow. And it just so happened that me and her, we were conversing back and forth while I was building the campaign, and she was kind of giving me ideas of what she wanted some of her tweets to look like, and I was also kind of letting her know what my process and approach was to making a Twitter campaign, since I've been doing them for probably about 3 or 4 years now. And in doing that, once I actually got it together and in flow, her book shot up to #1 on whatever category that she really wanted it, wanted a strong presence in.
Awesome.
And it doesn't happen all the time, but that potential is there. But the potential to actually get exposure for books to that wide crowd, I think I've done a pretty good job in harnessing that.
So it's like you're offering an online bookstore. You go into a bookstore, you might just be walking by because you've finished work or something, and you're just browsing, and you get a variety of books you might like, and one of them you take home because you just happen to like that one. So you're like an online bookstore.
And over the years, I have some of the followers, they actually frequent my Twitter feed just to see like what new book I'm talking about any given week or month. So you have this like ever revolving group of people that actually come and look. I think it was, when I looked at the analytics, I think I had month in, month out, I averaged maybe 10,000 profile hits, and so that's like people that actually just come straight to Twitter to my profile to see what I'm tweeting about any given day. So it's a lot of people that return too.
Nice. Yeah. I see you've got a T-shirt there. What does your T-shirt say? Can't see the bottom.
Yeah.
Bookstore and chill. Nice.
Isn't that the coolest T-shirt? I mean, it's a sweater, but isn't that the coolest sweater?
It's the coolest sweater. I always say I wanted to name my blog "Reading is Sexy," and then somebody gave me a mug that said "Reading is Sexy," and then I thought about it, and maybe it's gonna turn people off who don't want to be given sex. But why are people thinking that associating books with nerds and whatever? Lots of cool stuff happens in books. People jump off buildings, and everything you see in movies is happening in books. I don't understand.
And then some, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You never know. You might have a brand. You might have a brand there. Reading is sexy. You might have a
Reading
brand.
sexy.
You never know. You might come out with it a little bit later.
Maybe future. So how did you get into this business?
I've had a love for books. We're just being a nerd. I'm just like millions of other people that have tons of poems and short stories that they've either started or never finished, or maybe some masterpieces, just sitting on hard drives and stuff like that. So I've always been doing that. But in terms of actually turning into a business, when I used to work for a newspaper. It was a black-owned newspaper in Nashville, Tennessee. And while I was there, he wanted me to do stuff like the obituary and school board meetings and stuff like that. It was I felt like that was boring. But one thing I wanted to do was review books by black authors and have those reviews published in the newspaper. Because I was like, you have a huge black readership. And even though these books are about authors outside of Nashville, they're still of interest to people in Nashville, I'm sure. I mean, if they're reading your newspaper, they're going to read books too. And he didn't necessarily, this was his ship. He was the captain, and he didn't necessarily want to do outside of Nashville type stuff like that. So I had to find another outlet because I really wanted to review black books by black authors because I didn't see a lot of exposure in terms of the media with that. So I did a little bit of searching, and I found 2 different websites that actually kind of allowed me to be a book reviewer for them. And in the process of that, once I actually got on the road with my reviews and people actually started seeing it, authors were just sending me tons and tons of books. It got to a point where I was getting like 3 or 4 books a week. And
wow,
yeah, no,
living the dream. I wish you would send me books.
Hey, keep posting reviews, and I'm pretty sure you have publishing companies and all kinds of stuff just coming to you. But it kind of got overwhelming because I couldn't get through the books. I felt indebted to anybody who sent me a book to write a review. But it's the way I review is really like sometimes it can take me a week to actually like read a book and really digest it and really like put my all into a review to the point where it's actually like very clear and gives the reader enough to know what's going on, but not too much to spoiler alerts. But I couldn't do that for all those books. I couldn't do that for 3 books a week and work a full-time job. So I was like, what can I do to switch this up? And I started doing reviews on my own website. And then I had the idea one day, somebody asked me if they could send me a book because they saw my reviews. And I was like, you know what? Why don't we do an author interview? Why don't we do like a 5-question author interview? And that way I can churn those out a lot quicker and the turnover would be a lot quicker. And I did that for, like 8 years. And interviewed thousands of authors. I've interviewed people from like Faith Evans. I interviewed like the first black female POW. One of the guys from The Wire. So that along with just unknown authors that nobody ever heard of. Well, outside of their city. And then what started happening was when I and that was back in the MySpace days too, by the way. So we're talking like in terms of the internet and social media, we're talking like decades ago. Really probably less than 10 years ago, but it seems like decades ago compared to what we have now. And so one of my colleagues was just like, you know what, you need to get on Twitter. It's just started and it's going to be huge and everybody's going to be using it. And I was just, I was cool with what I was doing. And the more I kind of stayed at trying to build connections with readers and build connection with authors, and start to really not only put content out there, but actually interact with people that were actually going to consume the content or pass me on to somebody else who might want to do business with me. So it started out like kind of just being a nerd and just loving books and stuff like that, and slowly went from newspapers to the internet to social media.
Wow, amazing. So you just kind of followed what you like to do, followed your hobby.
Yeah, because at first I have this website called joeypinkney.com. I really need to do some serious work on updating it because I haven't worked on it in about a year. But that website really kind of grew out of me having a love for the internet and just wanting to browse and search and stuff like that, and also having a love for books. But when I started started that website, it was a blog that I was all over the place. I was scatterbrained. I had stuff about weight loss and stuff about acne prevention, and whatever I was reading or studying at the time, I would start writing articles about it. But then slowly I started saying, you know, I want to really get more into staying with books and really getting into the author's mind and really like taking that path as opposed to being scatterbrained and doing like a lot of different subjects. And
so if an author wants to, if an author wants to get in touch with you and say, promote my book, how do they find you?
One of the easiest ways is the website joeytweets.com. So that's JOEYTWEETS.com. Another way is you can find me on Twitter at Joey Pinkney. If you, I know it's kind of cliche, but if you Google my name,
yeah, you'll find you.
Because I've been doing a lot of social media stuff for the past couple of years, so I come up. There's all kinds of stuff that comes up in the searches now. So that'd probably be the easiest way.
So what's the next step? What are you doing with this next?
For me, I'm kind of transitioning right now. I'm kind of like turning down the promoting of other authors and turning up my own path as an author. Right. And so I'm kind of like dialing back a little bit in terms of promoting other authors, so I can actually take the time to write stories, develop ideas, start series and stuff like that. So I think that I'm gonna always promote authors. I'm gonna always have that some type of service available.
Yeah.
But now I want to be more of an author, and I want to actually make it a profitable venture. So I'm kind of in the process of learning more about the craft of writing, learning more about the business of public publishing, you know, stuff like that.
Are you going to self-publish, or are you going to go with a publisher?
Right now, I use a publishing service called solarpress.com. The person that owns it is actually my writing partner too. Her name is Phaedra D. Fields, and she does everything. She does everything from writing to doing book covers. I also do book covers too. Like all of my short stories so far have been my book cover designs.
You design them? Oh, cool.
That's what I was saying about really taking it from the idea to making it a tangible product.
Yeah.
You know, everything from like the book cover, typesetting, uploading, the book description, which is very key because a lot of people do terrible book descriptions because it's not really. You would think it'd be common sense, but it's not really common sense. It takes a little bit of salesmanship and copywriting to actually, you know, pull off a good book description. But all of that stuff, I want to learn as much as I can about it. And so that's kind of like what I'm transitioning into. And so even though I'm learning about the actual production of stories, ebooks, and, you know, both in print and digital format, since I've been promoting authors for the past almost 10 years now, I have a lot of experience. It's going to be like a holistic approach to publishing.
What would your advice be to authors who have a book, they want to promote it? What's your first level of advice?
I would say the first things that you would do to promote your book before everything else is, if you can't edit your story, make sure you get an editor.
Yes. Yeah.
And also, if you can't make a decent book cover, pay somebody to make a decent book. It doesn't have to be like masterpiece blinging and flashy and all that kind of stuff, but, you know, have the basic ideas of what graphic design is, because those two things promote your book before probably more than anything else. The quality of your story, once the person actually gets inside of your book, and the book cover, which draws people to the book. You know, if you're not gonna, if you don't know how to do anything else in terms of promoting your book, those two things are probably the first things that need to be in place, because a solid book cover is going to pull people into the book. So it's going to promote the book in ways that you really don't have time to do so, and you probably don't have the resources to do.
Right.
And once the reader gets into your book and they fall in love with your story and it's properly edited, it don't have to be perfect.
Right.
But it has to be great, it has to be compelling, it has to be emotional, and it has to get across the point that you're trying to get across. That's when it actually calls word of mouth. And word of mouth is priceless. You're going to have people, if you can get people to talk about your stories with the same passion that you put into writing it, then those are probably the most solid things to invest in if you really don't know how to approach promoting a book.
Awesome. Great advice. Okay, I have a game for you.
Okay.
It's called Don't Judge a Book by Its Cover. Because I agree with you. The descriptions are pretty terrible sometimes. So I'm going to give you a title of a book.
Okay.
You have to tell me what it's about.
Read a book and hold a joy. Soon you know me have to take no shot from no boy. Cause me don't have a plan for them. I need no music, I go sing no man for them.